What is going on YouTube? My name is Nevin the Barber, and in today's haircut tutorial, I'm going to be covering a burst taper. So to get right into this haircut today, I'm just going to be clipping up my client's hair, ensuring that his long hair is out of the way of the cut. And I'm going to be putting in my first bald line with my gamma trimmers. I do have these clippers right here zero gapped, so I was able to cut down all the way to the skin with them. And whenever I put in my first bald line, I like to carve behind my client's ear. Get a nice clean edge up before I actually get into fading the hair. So once I have that done, I'm going to be using my Babyliss clippers with the lever all the way open. And this is going to be cutting the hair at a 0.5 length. So I'm taking this first guideline right here about an inch above my skin line, doing some lever play, just giving myself enough space to flick out that bottom line. And whenever I close the lever, I'm just going to be shortening my cutting stroke, just because the hair is going to be getting cut at a shorter length. So you guys want to make sure you do shorten your cutting stroke as you close the lever. And to get into our second guideline, I'm using my Oster FastFeeds with my number 1 guard all the way open. And this right here is going to be cutting the hair at a 1.5 length. So to knock out that guideline that we just created, I'm going to go back to my Wahl seniors and throw on my half guard. So I'm going to be starting with the lever all the way open. This is going to be cutting the hair down to a number 1 guard length, and then we'll just be doing some lever play to blend the 0.5 into the 1. And now with my number 4 guard, I'm just cleaning up the sides, knocking off some bulk. Whenever you guys do a haircut, it's very important to knock down the bulk. Me personally, I always like to use the number 4 guard. And if my client had a comb over or slick back, I would just do shear over comb to blend into the top. So now we're going to work on blending our fade into the rest of the bulk of the hair. So I have my number 3 guard all the way open, and we're going to flick out and then close the lever, doing the same thing. And now I have my number 2 guard. We're going to be repeating the same process, starting with the lever all the way open and then closing it. And now that that line is getting softened up, we're going to go back to our number 1.5 guard. And same thing, we're just going to be doing some lever play, starting with the lever all the way open. And you guys just want to pay attention to the growth pattern of the hair when doing this. It's very, very important to angle your clipper in the direction that the hair is coming out of the scalp, just so the hair can be cut down to the shortest length possible. And I'm just going back down through my guards, blending out that bottom line, ensuring that my taper can be blurry as possible. And now that we have that bottom line blended out, we're going to repeat the same exact steps on the other side. So again, I'm going to be carving in my first guideline with my gamma trimmers. And if any of you guys would like to purchase them, you can use my code NEVIN10 and get a little discount on them. So I'll be sure to leave their website in the description on this video. And like I said earlier, whenever I do my tapers, I always like to line up the back and create my foundation and my guidelines before I actually fade into the hair. So I'm going to be starting with my lever all the way open on my Babyliss clippers. Again, giving myself about an inch to blend out that bottom skin line. And I do have these clippers right here zero gapped, so it's very easy for me to knock out that bottom skin line. Again, as I'm closing the lever, I'm just shortening my cutting stroke. And for the next guideline in this taper, I'll begin with the number 1 guard all the way open on my Oster FastFeeds. Again, just flicking out in the direction that the hair is coming out of the scalp, keeping my cutting stroke very consistent. And to knock out that guideline, I'm going to use my half guard on my Wahl seniors, just doing some lever play, keeping a very consistent cutting stroke. You guys don't want to take this guideline too high. And now just to knock down some bulk, I have my number 4 guard on. And the 4 guard is a very good guard just to knock down bulk and leave enough contrast on the top of the cut. So I'm starting with the lever all the way open and then closing it, repeating the same steps. And now I went down to the 3 guard, and I'm gonna be doing the same thing. And as you guys can tell, that bottom line is slowly starting to fade away. Just being patient and keeping a very consistent cutting stroke is the biggest key to achieving a clean cut. And now to knock out our final line, I went back to my 1.5 guard, just flicking out, doing some lever play, cornering out any dark areas that I see. And with the number 1 guard, I'm going to be blending out that final line, blending the taper into the rest of the bulk of the hair. Here I'm just going over with my Bronze Series 9 shaver, ensuring that it's cut all the way down to the skin. And for the back, we're going to be doing a little bit of a different method. I'm going to be balding out my first guideline with my gamma trimmers again, creating our foundation, lining up both sides before we get into the fade. And whenever you guys do this, you want to keep it as natural as you can. So in this first guideline, I took my 1.5 guard, and we're going to be starting with the lever all the way open. So with my lever all the way open, I'm going to be going up halfways within that first guideline that we just created. Just doing some lever play to knock out that bottom skin line. And like I said, I do have these clippers right here zero gapped. I do highly recommend that you guys zero gap your clippers if you haven't already. It'll make the job a lot easier. And to blend our 0.5 into the 1.5, I took my half guard and started with the lever all the way open, just flicking to the ceiling of that guideline. Again, keeping a very consistent short cutting stroke. You guys don't want to take this guideline too high. Just high enough to blend out that bottom guideline. And now we're going to begin blending the taper into the bulk of the hair. So I'm starting with the number 3 guard all the way open and then closing it, repeating the same steps that we did on the sides. Now that we have our taper complete, we're going to get right into the lineup. So I'm going to begin just by combing down all the little baby hairs. And then I have my number 1.5 guard going with the grain of the hair, just knocking down all those baby hairs at the same length. And then I'm going to be applying some Spritz holding spray. And this is just going to ensure that the hairs are going to lay down flat on the scalp. And this is going to make sure that you get a nice crispy lineup. So as always, I like to begin my lineup starting in the middle, getting a nice straight line from left to right. You guys always want to keep this as natural as you possibly can. Nobody ever likes a pushback hairline, so always keep your client's hairline as natural as possible. Same thing with the box and the C cup. As you guys can see, I'm just tapping and pulling away from his natural hairline. Applying the same exact steps on the other side, keeping our C cup very natural, tapping and pulling away from his natural hair growth pattern. And now that we have that done, we can get right into our razor lineup. So whenever you guys use the razor, you always want to keep constant tension on the skin. And this is very important, that way you don't nick your client. You guys want to be very, very careful and patient when doing this. There's no need to rush a razor lineup. So just be patient and make sure that you're bringing that razor up against the grain exactly where you want it to go. And this right here is really what will make the haircut pop out. You guys want to make sure that you bring the razor blade all the way up into the guideline that you created with the trimmers. And now that I have my razor lineup complete, I'm just going to go back and detail my taper. So again, I have my gamma trimmers, just detailing out my back edge up, knocking down any little flyovers that are coming out. And it's very important just to always go back and double check your work, just to ensure that you're giving your client the freshest cut they can possibly get before they leave your chair. And not only that, they'll just appreciate the extra time that you took in the haircut and the service that you're providing for them. So always remember to go back and double check that haircut. And here with my Bronze Series 9 shaver, knocking this taper all the way down to the skin. And I do highly recommend this shaver right here for anyone that wants my review on it. It's a very powerful shaver and it can knock down hair at a pretty long length, considering that it's a shaver. And that is about it for today's burst taper haircut. If you guys learned anything, I would appreciate any feedback. Please be sure to drop a like and a comment and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate anyone for tuning in this long, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out.